Call the Broken Arrow City Council meeting to order. I do not see Pastor Chauncey here.
There it is back
Where? Oh, there you are. I was looking right here. So glad to have you here today.
It's good to be here. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Let's bow our heads and pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for the great city of Broken Arrow. And we thank you, Lord, for all that you are doing here. We lift up this entire council of city leaders. We lift up the mayor. We lift up the city manager and all of the other city council members. We lift up our police chief this evening, our fire chief, and we lift up everyone else who works in this city. God, we are very thankful for your constant protection. We thank you for economic increase over our city. And we ask that there would be unity tonight in our meeting. Father, we thank you for the wisdom that's needed to make right decisions for Broken Arrow. And we ask, Father, for your peace to continue to be in our city. God, we thank you for your sovereign will being done here at all times. So we thank you and we praise you for hearing and answering our prayers tonight. In the mighty name of Jesus, amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Great prayer. Very energetic.
Roll call.
Green.
Here.
Ford.
Here.
Parks.
Here.
Gillespie.
Here.
Wimpy.
Here. Please join Councilor Ford in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have items D, G, and L to pull for discussion. Are there any other items to be removed from the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent minus items D, G, and L.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. Item D is approval of and authorization to execute a budget transfer request to fund new capital improvement project, renovation of the animal shelter for the police department.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Mr. City Manager. This item before us is to do a budget transfer to create a new capital improvement project to do some renovations to the animal shelter. The animal shelter has been around for quite a long time. We've got some residual funds from previous projects, and the shelter itself needs some sprucing up. And so those items that we're looking at doing include landscape renovation, which is $29,000. The camera replacement around the shelter itself, which is $12,000, laptops and mounts for the animal control trucks for $25,200. So all in total is $66,200. Be happy to answer any questions.
The only question I had, and it's not a big deal actually, because I'm excited that
Yeah.
we're doing this, is whenever I saw another question about like replacing landscaping,
Mhm.
I just wanted to make sure when the new landscaping gets put in, I know we're going to get irrigation, but how is it going to be maintained?
Well, I don't think we have irrigation right now. So I think part
Right.
of the problem is everything we have there is like rocks
Okay.
and very, survive on your own type of things.
Okay.
And so we have they're going to be removing the old things, putting in some irrigation, which we don't have, replacing some trees, getting out all the gravel around there. We're going to be getting some shrubs and trees that actually would be more survivable out there. And the irrigation we don't have currently, and everything needs to be mulched. And
Okay.
so, the inside of the shelter is great. The staff does a great job of keeping it clean. It smells good. And the more attractive the shelter is, the higher our adoption rates are. And so it's just renovating something it's a great building, but the outside needs some help.
Okay.
And the Parks Department does not do the mowing and stuff. You have your own contract that does all, like the police, like the public safety complex and the animal shelter.
Yes, ma'am. We have a contract that takes care of all
I
our
don't know if you all
buildings.
knew that or not. The Parks Department doesn't take care of that.
Okay. That was mainly, I just wanted it to be.
Yeah, we're
on
excited
record.
about the project. It's
Yeah.
going to really help out the exterior look of the place.
Mayor, if I can just say, is Captain Teener took over
responsibility for this, and the chief asked him to do a thorough analysis of the condition of the building inside and out. And this is just essentially the completion. If you remember, there were a number of improvements that he recommended that we implemented to actually improve the efficiency of the building and the operation. So I recommend you approve this.
Thank you, sir.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll
Thank
call.
you, Chief.
Item G is approval of and authorization to execute Amendment Number 2 to Agreement for Professional Consulting Services for CEC Corporation for Olive Avenue widening from Kenosha to Albany.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilors, Mr. Spurgeon. Kenny Schwab, Assistant City Manager of Operations. So the item before you right now is an amendment to our existing design contract on Olive, 129th, from Kenosha, 71st Street North to Albany or 61st Street. That was a 2014 bond, and we actually have some additional funds from the Surface Transportation Program through the state of Oklahoma through INCOG, STP. So we got out through the design process, pretty much had it completely designed. We vacillated back and forth between a 5-lane, 4-lane, but we want to make sure that we can move the traffic, specifically an improvement down on the south side, which is Kenosha, building out to a full 5-lane, even potentially a right-hand turn to allow that traffic to continue to move. Got through the process of identifying all the utilities that need to be moved. We were about ready to release them from removal. Over the last couple of years, we have been trying to negotiate right-of-way, got down to the final right-of-way that we needed to acquire. Could not come to terms on negotiation. That is the Memorial Park Cemetery. So this would be on the south end of the road, just north of Kenosha, and on the west side. The vacant field, it is actually a creek floodplain that runs through there. Working with council, we went through the resolution of necessity, actually went through condemnation. And at the condemnation hearing, Memorial Park Cemetery was awarded 10 times the appraisal. Our appraisal came in at right around 160,000 plus or minus. They were actually awarded 1.6 million for only about 1,000 feet. That's in length and out 25 feet plus or minus of right of way. A lot of that is floodplain. 1.6 million, staff's recommendation, working with our attorney's office. We don't feel like that to being good stewards. Brought it back to the council. Council completely agreed and actually took the charge on that one. That is not being a good steward of 10 times the appraisal. So moving forward, we went back to our consultant and said, we need a redesign, at least on that, I'm going to call it the south 1,000 feet. Can we move the road to the east towards, is that a quick trip? And can we move it to the east? What utilities are we hitting now? Can we avoid acquiring more right-of-way from the Memorial Park Cemetery? So this amendment is for them to do that. We may even have to go from the 4-lane down to the 3-lane and tie it back in. It's just 1.6 million is very, very difficult to stomach. So where we are
10
today,
times,
I'm sorry?
the 10 times the appraisal.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want
No,
to
you're
make sure
right.
that we repeated that. Yeah.
Well, I know
Yeah.
you said Memorial Park, but we know it as Floral Haven.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, I
Sorry.
just want to make
Yeah.
sure people knew exactly.
You are correct.
Yeah,
It's Floral Haven. I apologize. So the amendment in front of us is for 165,000 and some change to do that design to try to minimize any type of taking that we have to have with Floral Haven.
Yes.
So you're saying it might come down to a 3-lane, is that correct?
That is a potential that we would have to come down to a 3-lane. Now, staff has talked to the consultant and we all agree, we still would want to do 5 lanes at Kenosha. That's where the volume of the traffic is. We've got to handle the turning movements. So I would still expect some right away from Floral Haven at that corner, just to handle the turning movements at the intersection. And then as you go north from Kenosha, it may go back to 3 lanes and it would be offset too.
Mayor?
Yes.
A couple of questions, Kenny, just additional information I want you to share with the council. What was the total, assuming we would have gotten the right of way for, I think we even offered like double. I think our offer was well above the 160 that was the appraisal. So the total project was going to be approximately how much?
I actually don't recall. I know we had somewhere around about 6.2, 6.3, I think, in the bonds, and the STP. I think it was, at one point in time, we were approaching 8 million or something. But with a 1.6 million, to your point, would have just put it to where we couldn't do the roadway.
Because we needed the STP grant
Yes, sir.
to basically to put the two together to be
Yes,
able
sir.
to fund that. And so there's no way that we could have been able to complete the project with having to pay the 1.6.
Not with the funds available, and if I had to pay it out of the project, there was no way we could move forward with it. You are correct.
The vice mayor and I both asked for this to be pulled because we just want to be completely transparent. It's in my ward and I do drive that street. And a lot of my constituents ask me all the time, when's it happening? When's it happening? And I mean, it was on a 2014 bond. Is that your oldest outstanding project? This street on all the other bonds?
That and 209th North.
So I wanted to be transparent on, we're working, maybe Floral Haven, someone will hear us and maybe they'll reach back out to us and say, hey, maybe we need to look at it. I don't know, but it's important. And I just wanted our constituents and our.
So a couple of things. Let me apologize, but Memorial Park Cemetery. Sorry, Tulsa.
Maybe they had like another name.
And secondly,
That was maybe their corporate name.
Yeah.
on their Facebook, there's a Kenny's picture and an X thread.
Yeah.
But even if you have to go to the smaller model, it certainly will help traffic flow.
Yes, sir.
especially Get to that intersection.
Yes, sir.
I just
Yes,
want
sir.
them to know that also.
Yes, sir. So working with Floral Haven, working with their local general manager has been great. We have had no issues working with them. It's not really
Yeah.
in the locals' control. This goes to their real estate. They're big corporation. The real estate attorney is in Dallas, if I remember correctly. And it would take a year to even get a response. It has just been dragging on, and it's really, as I said, working through their corporate real estate, not their local.
No, they're very good community partners for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're choosing to take $0 versus, which is basically their choice, because we're not gonna, we cannot spend that kind of money of our people's money. And so if we end up having to buy right of way there at the corner, that is not developable. Is that correct? Because of floodplain?
No, well, actually right at the corner. So if I'm talking first couple 100 feet, 300,
Mhm.
400 feet, that is developable. So if we still have to go through the negotiations, it's the same process, very likely to be back in condemnation. It just won't be 1.6 million.
Right,
The floodplain's a little bit further north.
to the north, okay.
The problem is that this could potentially put the project behind going out to bid, by
Right.
approximately a couple of years.
Yes.
And so once I have the information, I need to share that with the community, because this is one of those projects that we do hear about that needs to be widened.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's very disheartening, quite frankly, because we were ready to go.
Because I really feel like it would benefit their business to have this widened. That's why I don't understand why they're not working with
Well,
us.
and just
better.
traffic flow out,
Yeah.
going
In and
out, in and out
Yeah.
of Floral Haven.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
All right.
We know you're just the messenger, but thank
Yeah.
you.
All right.
I will make a motion to approve and authorize execution of amendment number 2.
Second.
We have a motion in 2 seconds. Roll call.
Thanks, Kenny.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item L, approval of and authorization to execute a maintenance agreement between the Oklahoma Department of Transportation and the City of Broken Arrow concerning traffic signal maintenance for future traffic signals installed at the intersection of Highway 51 and 91st Street.
I asked to pull this off because this is, I know this is a maintenance agreement, but it's a big maintenance agreement. It's a big project, and it really affects several things that we have out there. So I asked staff if they would make some comments, and Rocky has volunteered to do that.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, members of council, Rocky Hinkle, Director of Streets and Stormwater. To the councilor's point, this maintenance agreement is for a future traffic signal that's going at the intersection of 91st and Highway 51. To the south of that is an industrial park that only has one way in and one way out off of 219th Street. And currently staff is in design to provide another access point out of that industrial park that will head north from the industrial park and exit onto 91st Street. In the future, this road could also be used as a egress point for the future amphitheater, should it be desired. So this is just a future traffic signal, and this is a maintenance agreement that the city will maintain the signals once the ODOT has installed the signals at that intersection.
We've been looking at these options for a really long time and dealing with the industrial park and then when the school got in and then now with the amphitheater, it'll help with.
And everybody's worked well together and until we built the road, there wasn't a problem. And then we put a gate up and then there really was a problem. And this is probably the only gate that we've got on one of our streets. And we did leave it open, I think, last summer a little bit.
We did.
For the industrial park, but it's been quite a deal that staff and especially Kenny has worked on, I know, for quite a bit of time. So I just feel like it's too important just to let it go by on a consent agenda.
Yeah.
So I would make a motion that we approve and authorize, execute a maintenance agreement between Oklahoma Department of Transportation and the city of Broken Arrow at the 51st and 91st Street.
I have a motion and second.
Second?
Roll call.
Thank you all.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Item 7A is a presentation of a citation of congratulations by Oklahoma State Representative Ross Ford.
I should have read.
It's very sweet of you.
Thank you, Miss Mayor and Vice Mayor and City Manager Michael Spurgeon and the council for indulging me to be here again tonight to celebrate with our wonderful mayor that has done so many things for our city that I would thought it was only fitting that we celebrate your nomination for Woman of the Year program with a citation. So the citation reads, Deborah Wimpy, whereas the Woman of the Year program is in its 43rd year and recognizes Oklahoma's prominent women who epitomize leadership in both their professional endeavors and in their communities where they live. And whereas it is fitting and proper that Deborah Wimpy would be nominated for the 2023 Woman of the Year, as she has a lifelong learner, true servant leader, and an asset to the city of Broken Arrow. Deborah is mayor of Broken Arrow and is involved in many community and charity ventures, including being a passionate advocate for veterans' causes. And whereas Deborah Wimpy, dedication to Broken Arrow and mayor duties are admirable, and as her desire to lead and serve for the betterment of the city shines through everything she does, she continues to have the commitment to work with the city council and the administration to be transparent and has implemented new initiatives in Broken Arrow to make the city a great place to live. And whereas Deborah Wimpy, in recognition of her distinguished nomination for Oklahoma's 2023 Women of the Year for her years of devoted service and extended to her highest regards. Now, therefore, pursuant to the motion by Representative Ross Ford, the Oklahoma House of Representatives extends Deborah Wimpy sincere congratulations and directs this citation be presented.
Yeah. I was I took the picture that way, so we'll get you the picture this way. Okay. Oh, there is. I feel like Lynn. And then Jan.
Is Jan here?
I was looking for.
Speech. I wanted to, I feel like we should say something about this because we all got to go to Oklahoma City and celebrate our mayor. And we are so blessed to have someone like Mayor Deborah Wimpy that represents us so well, who loves our community like no other and does this. I mean, we all do this as volunteers. And but she has been doing this for I don't even know how long, we won't say our age, but decades for the city and just serving our city so well. So we appreciate you so much, Deborah. Mayor.
Yes, and it is a pleasure to serve with you. I mean, I love serving with our whole council. We get along very well, and I love it. And I love serving with you, Deborah, and you do a great job for our city. Thank you.
I love it.
There's no crying in council meetings. It's an honor to serve you guys, so serve the city. So I can talk. I'm not talking. Thank you, Ross. That was really sweet. Okay, anyway, item 7B. Presentation of a Lifetime Service Award to Robert Cook, recognizing 50 consecutive years of public service with the city of Broken Arrow. Rocky Hinkle.
Good evening again. Speaking of decades of service, on August 21st, 1973, City of Broken Arrow employee Robert Cook began his public service for the City of Broken Arrow, serving its citizens and its community. After 50 years of dedicated public service, Mr. Cook decided to retire and begin a new chapter of life on September 29th, 2023, officially marking 50 years, 1 month, and 8 days of public service. Mr. Cook is the longest-serving employee in the history of the City of Broken Arrow. He is the first 50-year service award winner for the City of Broken Arrow. And unfortunately, Robert was unable to make it tonight. It was very emotional for him to be here tonight, and he kept pushing back his retirement day week by week. So I think we got a picture of presenting him an award because he just came in on a Friday and said, "Today's it." So
It's like, I'm out. 50 years, I'm out.
Maybe.
So what did that pin look like? Was it like a medal around his
no,
neck?
it's a nice award.
Good.
There should be an attachment with it. Right there. There you go.
There he is.
Aw.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
So,
Well
yeah, he
deserved.
was very tearful, and it was
Aw.
just really hard for him to walk away. As he mentioned, this is all he ever knew was serving the citizens of Broken Arrow. So he didn't know what he was going to do in his afterlife. But it's been 6 weeks now, so hopefully he's trying to figure it out. So I just wanted to recognize him publicly for all of his efforts.
I'm glad you did it. Yeah.
Well, we have a Lifetime Service Award in honor of Robert Cook, honoring Robert Cook for his Lifetime Service Award, recognizing 50 consecutive years of being a dedicated public servant with the City of Broken Arrow for the citizens and the community of Broken Arrow. Mr. Cook's lifetime commitment to public service makes him currently the longest-serving employee. It's outstanding.
That's fantastic.
We may have to mail it. I don't think he's coming back to get it.
He's fishing.
He's
He's
fishing
fishing.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
So who's behind him? Is it Mr. Cade?
Yes, Mr. Cade and then Mr. Myers.
Okay,
Yeah, they're right there together.
they're together. Okay,
Thank you.
awesome. Thank you, Rocky.
Good job, Rocky.
All right. We are tabling item C, and we'll bring that back up. Item D, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of and authorization to execute a proclamation declaring the week of November 5th through 11th, 2023 as National Animal Shelter Appreciation Week. Chief Berryhill.
Mayor Wimpy, Vice Mayor Gillespie, City Manager Michael Spurgeon. Again, this is another one that I'm excited about. Our animal shelter does a great job. I spoke about updating the front of this. They reunited and adopted back out over 1,400 animals last year. If you've ever been there, we have some of the highest adoption rates in the state. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I will tell you that day in, day out, it's one of the hardest jobs we have, and they're very compassionate with the animals, and that's very evident with our high adoption rate. It's to me, it's very personal because my father-in-law is a widower, lives out on a farm by himself. His dog passed away several months ago, and I went to the staff and I said, I need a very hardy animal that can live on the farm. And they found one, obviously, oddly, his name was Marley, like the movie. And so Marley's a great dog. I think it's extended my father-in-law's life. But she's kind of pushy because now she dictates when he gets up in the morning and when he goes to bed at night. But they do a great job. So
They will do that. Yeah.
I'm recommending to approve and authorize a proclamation declaring the week of November 5th to the 11th, the National Animal Shelter Appreciation Week. And we have our staff with us here tonight.
Wonderful.
Let's get a picture. They're all here.
Yeah.
Can we,
If you wanna bring it
can we
down.
all get a picture?
Please
with
bring
them?
it. While you're walking up, I'm going to read the proclamation for you guys.
Should I make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Oh, make a
to-
motion.
Yes.
Okay. And I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call.
I'm so glad y'all are all here.
I know, they're
Yeah.
all here.
Great.
Whereas dogs and cats are an integral part of the quality of life of our community, with approximately 70% of U.S. households owning a pet of 2023. Whereas animal control staff respond to the needs of the community, keeping animals and humans safe from harm. Whereas animal shelters make communities better place to live, taking strays and dangerous animals off the streets and out of harm's way. And whereas animal shelters help both animals and people in many ways by returning lost pets to their owners, community partners with area nonprofits, educating the public, and matching homeless animals with loving new families. And whereas the animal control staff is recognized for the many dedicated and long hours of service they perform in serving animals and residents of our community, and for fulfilling the Broken Arrow Police Department's commitment to providing the highest, most efficient level of customer service. And now, therefore, I, Deborah Wimpy, Mayor of Broken Arrow, do hereby proclaim November 5th through 11th, 2023 as Animal Shelter Appreciation Week, and encourage all citizens of Broken Arrow to join us in expressing their sincere appreciation and to the service and dedication of our animal control employees. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the city of Broken Arrow to be affixed this 7th day of November, 2023. So. Thank you all.
Congratulations.
Oh,
Did someone get a picture of it? Okay.
Oh, okay.
As I go back to sit down, I'll just say, again, a hearty thank you to you guys. There's a lot of jobs out there that are thankless jobs, and I know that oftentimes your job can be such, but you are appreciated. So thank you. Our city, unlike a lot of other cities, we don't have strays running around and running rampant. It's all a lot of because of the work that you do. So thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you all so much.
Good job.
All right. Item E, a public hearing regarding the annexation of approximately 45.85 acres located at the southeast corner of Midway Road, 257th East Avenue, and Houston Street, 81st Street, Section 14, Township 18 North, Range 15 East, Wagner County, State of Oklahoma. Amanda.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, Mr. Spurgeon. I'm Amanda Yamaguchi, Planning and Development Manager for the city. At the request of the property owner, the city of Broken Arrow has been requested to annex approximately 46 acres located at the southeast corner of Midway Road and Houston Street. This property is currently being used for single-family residential. It is slated within our comprehensive plan to be for single-family residential development in level 2. The city staff has reviewed all of the documents and recommends annexation of this property.
Okay. We do have, so do I allow them to speak first before we do the open? I hadn't had people speak before. So I have people who want to speak.
You can.
Yeah, Mayor, I'd recommend, you open the public hearing and then you have the folks
And
who.
then have them. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Is there anyone here that would, I'm opening, call for a motion to open the public
I will
hearing.
make that motion.
Second?
With a motion and a second, roll call.
Can you get a second? There it is.
Okay. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on this item?
Yes, please.
Okay.
First timers here, so
All right. Welcome.
thank you very much for supporting us and everything. There's a group of us that are in opposition of this for fear of flood zone concerns, heavy tax burden for folks that don't really make that much money. First of all, next door. Mention of a wall coming up. What is this, Mexico? So what are we supposed to do when it comes to code concerns and all of this in regards to this wall and the concerns of the neighborhood coming in? Yes, it's supposed to be some elite neighborhood, but we don't like being compared to like that. So there are concerns with what may be approved.
Okay. And that's the wall. This is the first I've heard of a wall.
You mean like just
Because is it going to be gated community
There you go.
and it's gated?
And it
so-
will be a very, very rich neighborhood compared to the adjacent neighborhood who do not have walls and don't approve of walls. So you're isolating groups of people and we just don't approve of that.
So it currently has a fence around it
Just a barbed wire,
on the backside. On the front
Yeah.
side, it has white.
correct.
fencing.
We're okay with, well, we would want to know what's going on. I'm not going to say we're
When you
okay.
say wall, I'm thinking a wall. And
So-
so you mean a fence.
With the value of these houses coming in, that dictates a full-blown wall, not a little vinyl one that's up there now. We know with certain style houses, you're going to get certain fences. Am I right?
Well,
So
It depends.
that's the
Yeah,
concern.
it depends
Yeah.
on the developer.
It
so,
does.
yeah.
And so we want to know what's going on with that.
Well, if you
Rightfully
annex
so.
it, if we annex it into the city, then you would know what was going on because it'd have to come before the city.
Right. So then if we would just go through the same steps we are here now to understand the wall.
That's
Right,
correct.
Right.
right,
And
absolutely.
And
Is there
everything-
opposition at that time for the wall,
And
or is it a
everything-
decided factor?
And everything would be posted. All we're looking at tonight is whether to annex it or not. Is that not correct?
Yeah.
So
And-
we're just looking to annex it. If we don't annex it, then the city has no control of it. And I'm pleased that it was going to be annexed
Yeah.
because it's within our fence line, but it's not, wouldn't be in the city of Broken Arrow. They could go ahead and develop it without coming into the city. So I think it's
This-
good they
yeah.
come into the
Because
city.
it gives us the opportunity to hear your concerns and share that with the
Mhm.
developer. And you have a better chance of actually understanding what's going to be taking place there
Right.
and having them hear your concerns.
Yeah, so I guess we're in opposition of the annex that's already been approved, I guess, and so we're late? No?
It's not been approved yet.
Oh,
We're looking
okay.
at it right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know,
But if it doesn't get annexed, the developer can go in there and do whatever they want, whether
sure,
you want them
Anyway.
there or
sure.
not.
Okay,
Being annexed means that we get to have a say in what happens
right,
and we get to hear what your concerns are.
okay. So I guess our concern another major concern would be tax burden upon a certain neighborhood that's not at the same level that this neighborhood would be, right? So that you've got to be considering that and be concerned with that. Yes, it's bringing tax revenue into us, but you got to think of the neighbors too, what's going on there. As everybody's taxes in that area that live in a trailer house, the taxes continue to do this. And so that's going to continue.
And it,
So
well,
there's our
in today's
concern.
times, it's going to continue no matter what.
Right.
So
So your suggestion is,
I think you'll have more control, in my opinion, if the
Yeah.
city has the ability to help you
okay,
get something you want in
well,
there.
thank you for that info. That's a
Yeah.
different turn
Because-
on what I thought it would be. So,
At least you'll know what all's going in there because there'll be public hearings on all the different
Mhm.
steps.
Because the
Okay.
developer could do this without annexing in,
sure,
and it would still raise property values. It would still, they could, but we have standards within our city that outside of city limits, there aren't those same standards. So when you're talking about flood issues and that, we have standards within the city of Broken Arrow that there might not be
Yeah, they have to
outside our
address those
city
issues.
limits, and they would
Okay.
have to address those.
okay.
And your
So-
taxes are going up because the value of that land is going up, which is what you would want if you live there, I would think. I would want my value of my land to go
Well, your
up.
property
Well-
values will go up.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
It's a very unique community.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this matter? Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this matter? So we can go ahead and close the public hearing and then we'll hear from the residents that put in notices.
Applicant?
Huh?
Who's you gonna listen to?
The residents that want to speak.
Okay.
Yep. So Marilyn Duke,
I thought that's who he was as a resident.
yeah, I think he was, but he came
I see.
because we were doing a public hearing.
I got you.
Mayor and Council, City Manager. My name is Marilyn Duke and my husband is Ed Duke. And we own the property on the west side of Midway and 81st. There's 5 acres. Our concern is flooding. Right now, there's a WPA bridge there on Midway and the water comes across when heavy rains and comes across the corner of our property. Sometimes my husband cannot even mow. There is a deep ditch along 81st. When the roadway was built in 2004, the road was raised up when the city built the street. And so that ditch is eroding. And there's a pipe that goes under 81st. And then a pipe goes down the side of 81st, but still it doesn't take care of all the water.
Sure.
So what will this do? That's our concern.
Okay.
Okay.
And so those are the concerns like you were saying, that having it annexed in the city, their developers are not allowed to cause any further damage like that. They would
Okay.
they'd have to develop to standards that our city requires. And they
Okay.
would make sure they would look at those drainage issues and improve them.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Thank
yeah.
you for hearing it.
Thank you. Tracy Wheeler.
Yeah, I asked, she kind of.
She touched on it. Okay.
Flooding.
Joe Wheeler. You already spoke. Okay.
So is that an immediate, can I ask a question? So is that an immediate response to, so if there is a housing addition put in, how much time will it be before they resolve the concern she has?
As if it was annexed into the city, they wouldn't be able to start building. I mean, they'd have to have all that resolved.
Mayor, why don't we ask
Before that
Amanda to
starts.
come up and explain the process should you approve?
Okay, Amanda, would you do that?
Yes, so city staff has already been in discussion with the potential buyer for this property on what their plans are as far as rezoning and PUD. The first step, assuming that this property gets annexed, is that a rezoning application and PUD, plan unit development application, would be brought before this planning commission and city council for approval. That's approximately a 60-day process, depending on when they turn in an application, when we get notices sent out. Assuming approval of that rezoning and PUD, the property would have to be platted. That process can take anywhere from 6 months to a couple years. It really just kind of depends on the property itself. A detention determination has already been done on the property, and it will require on-site detention. So that will be incorporated as part of the engineering design with the platting. So altogether, we're probably talking at least 2 years before you start seeing actual development, houses coming out of the ground.
Mayor,
That's approximate.
so question for Amanda. So obviously you heard some concern about drainage.
Yeah.
So now that you've heard those, when the interested party comes in to develop, that's something that staff is going to make a note of and is going to, should they choose to go forward with the development, we can't do anything about it right now if there's no development, but
Right.
should they choose to develop that property, you'd make sure that issue was taken care of.
Yes, and we were aware that there were some potential issues out there. That's why we went ahead and had them do the detention determination. That way the developer was aware ahead of time what those issues are and that on-site detention would be required. There's quite a bit of green space, I think, that they're proposing with their development to keep that kind of under control, but that is definitely something that staff is aware of and something that will be required at the time of development.
So when they submit that application, there's a requirement that they have to give notice to people in so many feet. So if folks live within what's
It's
that?
300 feet.
300 feet, they would receive notice of when those meetings are going to be held with the planning commission. And when they'd have an opportunity to come in and to look at the plans and listen to the planning commission deliberate.
Yes.
And then based on their decision, then it would come to council.
Yes. So when the application is submitted, the developer is planning to submit it with a PUD document, plan unit development. So what that'll include is a conceptual layout plan that'll kind of show you where the lots are going to be located, the lot sizes, where's the detention. So kind of where all those things are in a preliminary manner. The engineering will not be complete at that point, but that'll give the citizens the opportunity to kind of see what's before them before they get to planning commission. They can ask questions, voice concerns at planning commission. If planning commission were to recommend approval, then it would come on to city council.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Before you sit down, I'm sorry. Can you just elaborate a little bit for the folks here what on-site detention might look like? Because I know that was.
So on-site detention is basically a detention pond. As you can see, there's a couple on the site right now. So it'll need to be determined whether those are adequate or if they will need to be enlarged to handle the increased flow when the site's developed out. the conceptual plan I've seen, if you can kind of see where that stream follows along, there's kind of a green belt area set aside for that. So they're already kind of taking that into consideration. Obviously, they're going to wait until they find out if the property is annexed before they write up those documents, get them submitted before you. But they're already thinking of those things, and they're kind of already on their minds and already on staff's
So
mind.
any additional runoff that would be caused by this development, should it go forward, would be required to be detained on that property. It couldn't run over into the neighbor's property and be their problem.
Yes,
Correct.
no additional runoff in excess of what is there now would be permitted.
Thank you.
And that's typical of anything. That's
Yes.
why I was glad it was coming into the city, is we're doing this up
Right.
front instead of coming back to a subdivision that's built outside the city and trying to help them later on.
Correct.
But now we're doing it beforehand. So I think it'll be good, an oversight of it.
Yeah, because we've got neighborhoods that have annexed into the city after being there a while, and then there's a big cost for them to be brought up to, and it gets assessed to the homeowners.
Yes.
So,
Thanks, Amanda.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next I have Jessie.
I'm good.
You're good, okay. I'm sorry. She does not wish to speak, but she is in support. And then we have Lee Thiel. He does not wish to speak, but he is in support. All right,
Well, I make a motion that we approve the annexation of the 45.85 acres and come underneath the city of Broken Arrow's control. You'll have a lot of input at the time as it's developed. So I think it's good for the city of Broken Arrow. It's within our fence line. I'd make that motion.
Second.
Right down.
Excuse me.
think-
Council Parks, this item was just for the public hearing. You guys will make the motion on a later agenda item.
Okay, I'm sorry.
take it back.
I'm taking the motion back.
Okay. And the hearing is closed, so. Okay. Item 8 is citizens' opportunity to address the council, and there is none. Item 9, general council business. 9A, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of and authorization to execute the Office of Attorney General 2023 Safe Oklahoma Grant Program. Chief Berryhill.
Mayor Rimpey, Vice Mayor Gillespie, Council, and City Manager Michael Spurgeon. This grant itself is for $30,000 from the Office of Attorney General. The funds will be utilized for overtime for policing in high crime areas as described within the contract itself. You may have noticed over the past several months, we've had several initiatives in certain areas of the city where we're experiencing some uptick in crimes. And this is one of the tools that we use to be able to take people out of the normal assigned duties and have an extra manpower to address an issue. Happy to answer any questions if there is any.
Any discussion? Nope.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. Thank you, Sarah. Item 9B, consideration, discussion, and possible approval and authorization to execute amendment number 1 to the amendment for professional consulting services with CEC Corporation for the Aspen Avenue widening from Shreveport to Tucson. Ethan.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members, Mr. Spurgeon, Ethan Edwards, Director of Engineering and Construction for the City of Broken Arrow. Mr. Spurgeon has, we've talked about this project a few times, and we understand that this is one of the roads of concern in and out of Indian Springs. So in order to try to expedite this project, this amendment will separate the plans into 3 different projects, one being the intersection of Aspen and Jasper, which we were awarded a $1.5 million federal grant for. The federal grant money ties us to specific guidelines as far as environmental studies are concerned. So in doing this, breaking into 3 different projects, the $1.5 million grant contingencies only apply to the intersection. So this allows us to try to expedite and streamline the project so that we can do it in 3 different phases and hopefully simultaneously put them in order to expedite the project. So as I said, Three projects will be the Shreveport to Jasper, the Aspen and Jasper intersection, and then the Jasper to Tucson project. The Shreveport to Jasper is really just a mill and overlay with some addition of a sidewalk and some restriping. However, there is a roundabout study included to investigate the feasibility of constructing a roundabout, Vice Mayor, at Shreveport due to the growth of Aspen Landing. So we didn't want to point that out, that this is something that the consultant and staff will evaluate. So the Aspen Jasper intersection includes widening north and southbound legs as well as new signals. Jasper to Tucson includes widening to 5 lanes and additional sidewalk. The first phase of the project, Shreveport to Jasper, is expected to start construction probably sometime late 2025, followed immediately by the Jasper intersection and to Tucson. So I'd be happy to answer any further questions.
So talk about the intersection of Tucson and Aspen. That's going to be what type of intersection? Is obviously that's the concern we have right now is everything bottlenecks because of this. It just basically got 2 lanes. So it's going to be a fully functioning intersection like we're used to around town.
Absolutely. But by the way, we do have all the parcels now for the intersection, so we're able to start here pretty quickly on the environmental portion of that project. So.
Yeah, I mean, this is my ward, and I get questions about it constantly. I mean, and we did make some improvements to Tucson just so we don't have trucks like falling off the edge of the road as much as we used to, or I don't hear about it, but used to, I would hear about it like at least once a week, a truck would be off the road. And, you know, I would love to see something at that intersection at Indian Springs that really is something special, because Indian Springs Sports Complex is a pretty special place. And I'm just glad. Now, it sounds like we're going to be there will be sidewalks that go, will it just be one side of the road, or will it be both sides of the road? Do we know?
Was that the question about sidewalks?
Yes.
Come on down, Zach.
It's just going to be on the east side.
Okay. Oh, and will that be all the way from, basically from the Creek Turnpike?
Yes.
All the way down?
Yes.
Okay, all the way
Yes, ma'am.
south? Okay.
Will this help the traffic for people going to the soccer fields and stuff at Indian Springs? Will this help the neighbors there in that neighborhood be able to
Absolutely,
get
yes,
in
ma'am,
and
it will.
out?
Yes.
Okay. I have
And
not
that
got
would help
complaints in a
a
while, but when I
roundabout.
was at the police roundabout would be
Because
awesome.
they don't have to
apparently.
stop. They could just keep going and then never back up.
That was a huge, I got a lot of complaints when I was at the police department about every weekend, how people just wouldn't even leave their neighborhood when they knew soccer was going on. So I'm glad to see that's going to help.
Well, and connectivity with sidewalks connecting to the trail at, off the Creek Turnpike, that would be huge as well, because I know that, and even just walking, with everything we have going on Aspen, I'm really excited to see this is finally moving forward.
So I've asked Ethan and Kenny to do everything they can to get this project out to construction as soon as they can after Labor Day of 2025.
It's awesome.
And I feel pretty good that they're going to be able to get it under construction.
Okay.
And it's a very important project. I mean, that's a challenge when you have so many roads that need to be widened and only so much money each year. And then there's been a full acquisition. There's got to be utility relocations. I mean, it's all these things have to take place. And so I'm very happy with where we are, but I pushed them a little bit on this because I need to get this one out to bid and under construction before
Well, and there's some
2026.
challenges out there. I know along Jasper, there's a lot, because I would love to see a sidewalk along Jasper from Indian Springs, from Aspen to Elm. But I know there's some big time challenges in that area. It's going to cost a lot of money to get those things done.
So I will point out that the environmental portion could take up to 12 months. So that's the reason we're trying to expedite this portion. So.
Yeah, so we may end up having to make a decision to cut bait and go ahead and just do as much as we can from Tucson going south.
Right.
Because I'm just not going to I'm not going to wait. My recommendation, not just to wait until we have everything. This is too important. And so that's why Ethan's taken time to explain this, because we know we need to do something there. And so we're evaluating everything, and I'll keep the council posted on what we're going to do. But we definitely need to do from Tucson to the Jasper intersection.
Right.
So they're working hard on it to where we can get it tied in. But using those federal funds ties you into requirements that you have to follow. Any deviation, you could jeopardize the funds.
Okay, right.
And if I may, Mayor, I mean, Mr. Spurgeon just nailed it. Using the STP funds ties you into an environmental assessment and clearance that you have to have at the intersection. That's why we want to break this up so we can continue to move forward on the remaining mile. So I think this was well thought out.
All right. That's good. Good
Thank you,
deal.
sir.
So what are we?
Approving the contract.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
Second.
With a motion and second, roll call. Item 9C, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of and authorization to execute amendment number 2 to professional consultant agreement with Kimley Horn for the design of events park infrastructure improvements.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, Mr. Spurgeon. Going back a few months, we had a meeting with Mr. Spurgeon, and we started talking about this project originally, and he was pretty specific to say, Charlie, your priorities are all get pushed back now. This is priority number 1 for the extended time of your life. So,
The rest of your life.
So this is the fruit of that. This really, we've put in a lot of effort. Jennifer Rush's team and so many people at the city, a lot of meetings with you guys, and this is kind of the next step in the fruition of all that labor. Back in September, you guys approved, this council approved the first contract with Kimley Horn, which was just to go out and survey and do the geotech of this land. And we needed to get out in front of that because it's a big area and it was going to take some time. Since that time, and back in October, we approved an amendment that gave us $100,000 in hourly money just to start working on design issues. And now during all that time, Kimley Horn and our staff has been working on negotiating the big contract for all the design services of everything we need out there. Happy to say we haven't spent much or any of that $100,000 yet, mostly because we've been waiting for that survey and geotech. Happy to tell you guys that as of yesterday, that survey came in. So we are really starting to work on the design starting now. So since we had not got that survey in, we had not spent a lot of that $100,000. So this amendment will pay for the design services of just about everything out there at the park. We're not including Evans Road at this time because we're not sure we're going to proceed with that. And we're taking out some construction services and other things that may come back later. But it includes all the design of everything in the park, 101st Street. And that total comes out to $1,460,700. We are taking out the $100,000 that you guys previously approved. So we're only adding to the contract by $1,360,000. I say only, but we gotta keep in mind that we are doing probably over $20 million in improvements here. Our staff has gone through each part of the design fee, talking about the parking lots, the detention, the streets, the utilities, and we went through it line by line with the consultant. And I feel confident saying I think it's a pretty fair value compared to what market standards are and stuff like that. So overall, we're recommending approval of the contract. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are you still looking at an underground detention?
Yeah, yes, sir. So we actually talked about that today, some in one of our meetings. With the addition of the 41 acres that was not originally planned, we have more land available. So on the parking lot to the north, we are discussing the potential to add a detention pond, because there's a lot more land than we need right now. One thing, I haven't even mentioned this to Mr. Spurgeon or anything yet, but one thing we're also going to evaluate is, can some of that land be left for more park space or maybe commercial space or something like that? So we'll evaluate whether we want to put a pond up there on some of that land or stay underground detention and try to leave more land available for a commercial lot to be created up there. And we'll start evaluating that as we get some drawings going. The parking lots that are going to be to the south in our existing park, 100%, we're still planning on doing underground detention on those, just so we don't have any effect on the existing pond and its operations.
So you're looking at the parking all being on the south of the events center? Is that, the amphitheater?
As things are still really in flux because we are working towards doing the traffic study and all that. That'll help determine some of this. But I think as of things stand today, we anticipate probably about 1,000 of the parking spots being north of the facility up on the 41 acres with between 500 and 800 parking spots down south by the pond. But that could change. We might move some more down south, but a substantial portion will be up north.
Okay, good.
I'd just like to apologize if my tie is too bright for you and offer my condolences.
I knew he was
Lots of
gonna say
Kleenex
that.
should
You
you
had to
need
get it
those,
in.
but we do appreciate you and all of your hard work.
No comment.
Yeah.
Just being transparent.
Understood.
Very kind of you, Justin. All right.
Let me just mention something is that we are talking to Wagner County about the possibility of taking ownership maintenance of Evans Road, which is a short stretch, which would be going north from 101st as a part of the negotiations for the TIF. And that's something I think we should do, which may necessitate us doing some additional engineering work at some point. And so that's why I had Charlie mention that today, as we're still looking at that, because that road could serve as to assist with the park features and improvements. So,
sure.
All right.
I will make a motion to approve this professional consultant agreement with Kimley Horn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
thanks, Charlie.
Item 10A, consideration, discussion, and possible preview of an ordinance adopting a new Broken Arrow zoning ordinance repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict within and declaring an emergency. Amanda.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, Mr. Spurgeon. One of the priorities of the Broken Arrow Next comprehensive plan was to update our land development regulations to effectively implement said comprehensive plan. Kindred Keys Collaborative was selected through the RFQ process and has been working since approximately May of 2021 to bring our code into, update our code. They've been working with city staff and the stakeholder advisory committee to update the code text, design and implement web-based interactive public presentation platforms, and create a project website and develop a zoning map recommendation consistent with the new zoning ordinance. Tonight, staff is asking for your approval of the preview ordinance to adopt this code. Brian Mabry with Kindred Keys Collaborative is here to give you a presentation of the new ordinance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda, and thank you, council members, for having me here. This is a long project, as you kind of heard from Amanda's timeline. So I'm giving a very, very compressed overview of the document. No way to cover everything in it, but giving a kind of an overview of the project, very broad summary of the contents of the document, and then just showing what the Planning Commission's recommendation was, which you all know, I assume, in your packet and from the minutes and everything. So several goals that Amanda kind of covered, so I won't belabor them. Modernizing the zoning ordinance, making it implement the policies of the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan is the set of policies for how the city wants to grow in the future, but it's policies. This is actual legal, has legal teeth to it that implements and brings to life some of those policies and kind of dreaming that was in the comprehensive plan. Just having quality outcomes as far as land development and having a user-friendly document. And just a reminder that zoning is about land use on private property and signs and landscaping and parking, and building heights and building setbacks and those kind of things. It's not street layout, or it's not really totally related to the building code. It's not several other things. This is, how private property is used. So again, we did start summer of 2021 with initial activities, getting to know the city better, doing some what we call kind of kickoff interviews with stakeholders. Those are people who have an interest in how the city develops in the future, whether professionally or personally. Went through several other steps, wrote the draft in installments, in 2 different installments that covered various topics. Each of those stars represents a review meeting, either virtually or in person, usually in person, with the Stakeholder Advisory Committee, which a few of you were on and helped with review, and we greatly appreciate that. Leading up to September, where we had the Planning Commission formal hearing and recommendation to you all, and then to the actual hearing tonight, and then, I guess one more vote in a couple of weeks to seal the deal. All throughout, tried to be transparent to the public and exercise public engagement, because this is a document that lots of different people look at, not just attorneys, even though it is an ordinance. A lot of, builders, surveyors, engineers, architects, landscape architects, all types of people look at a zoning ordinance. So some of the high level recommendations when we did a zoning ordinance analysis or sort of a critique are shown on the screen: restructuring the districts, improving the land use regulations related to certain specific land uses, enhancing the site development standards, user friendliness, several things that will actually that were actually took place after we recommended them in the critique. So we've reformatted the document, made it modern. It is actually the document, the zoning ordinance is a website. It's not just a PDF that's hosted on the city's website. The ordinance is a website. It's got clickable links that take you to different parts of it. If it said refer to section 3.3 landscaping, you click that, it takes you to the landscaping section. There's other features that it has that really take advantage of modern technology. Combined 5 of the residential single-family districts into 3 residential districts. We had gone even farther, but kind of pulled back a little and gone to 1 district at one point, but then thought that we should with staff's input, helpful input, broke it down to 3 districts rather than the drastic step of putting them all into 1 district. Also combined a couple of your mixed use districts into one, the neighborhood mixed use and community mixed use. One of them, I think the CM one, was hardly used at all on the map. So that's kind of a signal. Might as well just go ahead and put those together. Some terminology changes, specific use to conditional use, just a little more in line with best practices, bringing in some other regulations, the DROD in New Orleans Square, into the document, so everything's in one place. ADUs, accessory dwelling units, or granny flats, those type of things are allowed in the ordinance now in the residential zoning districts. Low impact development, I'll have a little more visuals for some of these, so I'll keep moving forward. But all of these higher level recommendations end up getting addressed in the subsequent slides, and I want to respect your time. We'll drill down into 4 chapters of the ordinance, not too deeply, not too boringly, hopefully, that kind of are the most, most people are the most interested in. Chapter 2, 3, 4, and 6. So chapter 2 is the zoning districts and land use regulations. I mentioned combining your 6 single-family districts, combining them, and I might have said 5 earlier, sorry about that, 6 districts looks like, into 3. There's the kind of normal, plain, single-family residential. There's single-family residential compact and single-family residential preservation, and those have different characteristics to them that I'll have some visuals for. And then there's another down there at the bottom, that kind of signal representation of combining the 2 mixed-use districts. This just lists out all the districts. The point of this second slide here for the table is just to show that there's really not much change to your non-residential districts. You had a good number, kind of what we would see normally in places this size that are experiencing your kind of growth. So really didn't mess around with the terminology or the nomenclature or anything like that for these. A big part of the zoning ordinance is the use table. Instead of listing out land uses and whether they're permitted or not, they're consolidated onto a single table, with the rows being the different land uses and the columns being the different zoning districts. So for an example, a fitness and recreational sports center is one land use. There are certain districts where there's a P, that means it's permitted by right. That means there's, you get a building permit, do a site plan. There's no special hearings or anything that go along with it. There are certain other districts, though, where it's a conditional use permit. So it has to go before a public hearing process before it can take place on a given property. And then there are standards that go along with that in that far right column, that section 2-3-4J. If a user clicked that in the adopted ordinance, it would take them to the specialized standards that go along with that. So only in those districts where there's a C for conditional use, there's an increased buffer than what would normally be required, and there's a cap on the size of the building, just to keep it smaller scale for some of those districts that would maybe need a more smaller scale of commercial development. So those just apply to those 4 districts. It's not that there's never, citywide that those 2 standards apply. Sometimes people get that confused. So I want to emphasize that it's just those 4 districts, not citywide, that those standards end up applying. Other things with Chapter 2, accessory uses and accessory structures. So just spelled out standards related to them, temporary use standards as well. We have both a permit and the standards that go along with them. Your plan unit development rules were pretty much carried over from what you have, as were your cell tower telecommunication facility provisions. A little more detail on accessory dwelling units. Your comprehensive plan, Broken Arrow Next, has a recommendation in it that as long as private covenants allow ADUs, then they should be allowed by right in neighborhoods. So, if deed restrictions or covenants say you can't have them, then that you can't have them. But the city is saying, where there's not deed restrictions that prevent them, it's opening them up. And they have several advantages. Accessory dwelling units promote housing affordability. They can keep families together, living closer together, and several other things. So there's several different standards up here on the screen. Probably a key one would be about 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 bullets down. The size of it can't exceed 1,200 square feet or 50% of the square footage of the primary structure on the property, whichever is less. So that controls their scale a little bit. And then there's several other ones there that a manufactured home can't serve as an ADU. Same meters, you can only have one accessory unit per property. So you couldn't have several little, accessory dwelling units and the main house there on the property. So getting into Chapter 3 are dimensional and design standards. There's, as I mentioned, 3 single-family residential districts based on a couple of recommendations from Broken Arrow Next that are shown on the screen that have to do with promoting and implementing in flexibility in the residential districts and requiring additional park or open space. So there's the sort of the plain flavor, the plain residential single-family district that doesn't require any open space, has a 6,500 square foot lot, and several other things that are common for that type of zoning district. But we also have, and each of the districts are highly illustrated with visuals like you see on the screen, bringing it into a more contemporary look for a new zoning ordinance. But they're also, like I mentioned, the compact and the preservation single-family districts that require certain levels of open space to be dedicated permanently. And by open space, that can mean sort of natural area. It can be more structured, like park-like settings, other things like that. And in exchange for that, if a developer or subdivider will go through the trouble and effort of dedicating a little more open space, then they end up getting they aren't penalized for it. They don't lose units. They make up for it by having slightly smaller lots in those districts to help offset the trouble they went through and the land that they're using to as permanent open space. So it's kind of a win-win, we hope. Each district has other stuff in it, parking regulations for each permitted land use, a summary of the landscaping standards, and a summary of the sign standards that are then elaborated on more in the ordinance later on. There's also a multifamily design standard. Sometimes there's concern in a neighborhood if people find out that a multifamily is coming nearby, and so this would at least make the design of the buildings more attractive. There's several different options that don't constrain, the architect, which we know that they don't like to have constraints on them. They want to design the way they want to, and that makes sense. But there are some parameters they have to go within in order to meet the regulations, and they're sort of flexible but have some certainty in them as well. Chapter 4, site development. There's several things in this chapter, parking being one of them. Making parking is a very complex topic, very much talked about in zoning, in the zoning world, where nowadays, we've realized that over the past 20, 30, 40 years or more, that a lot of times cities require too much parking. And so we've kind of retooled the requirements for certain land uses so that they're more right-sized, I would say, that you're not going to have parking lots that are only semi-full on Black Friday and one or two other days of the year, but that are compacted down a little bit, and that takes up less space that can then be devoted to buildings or open space or greenery or landscaping. Also helps with stormwater and those kind of things, helps with the heat island effect that comes with a huge paved area. So several benefits of kind of right-sizing your parking. There's lots of opportunities in there for an applicant to have parking reductions that can be approved by staff or approved by the Planning Commission, depending on what they're wanting to do. And then there's some bicycle parking requirements worked in for certain districts, for the mixed use and the more small scale neighborhood oriented districts. For landscaping, screening and tree preservation, not a lot of changes. We've updated your tree and plant list, the kinds of eligible trees to be planted that count toward getting, landscaping credit, so that they have some drought tolerant species in there, native species, stuff like that. We also have low impact development, which I'll have on the next slide and show what that is, as well as tree survey requirements before land clearing takes place in order to help to preserve trees on the site. Low impact development is incentivized. It's not necessarily required in the zoning ordinance, but it is. There are things that particularly in like a parking lot, kind of natural ways to treat stormwater to an extent. I mean, you're not going to treat a whole big storm event, but kind of a smaller rainfall. There are features that parking lots and paved areas can have worked into them to where it's sort of bio-treated. And that's less strain on your stormwater treatment system, more natural kind of way of handling stormwater. So there's some incentives in there for incorporating that into a design. Getting closer to the end here for code administration, that's sort of the process and the procedures, how a rezoning is processed and acted on, how a variance is reviewed and acted on, how staff handles site plans, things of that nature. We've worked in or carried over a code of ethics that you already had in your existing zoning ordinance. Listed out all the different review bodies, including you all, City Council, Planning Commission, Board of Adjustment, staff, certain staff, higher level staff members, and shown what their review responsibilities are and what their decision-making responsibilities are. Consolidating your existing kind of review procedures that are all text into tables, like the one you see there that has several pieces of information in it kind of concisely displayed. For example, a building permit, when it's required, what the submittal timing is like, if there's a pre-application conference required, which there isn't, it's just, that's a small scale thing for the most part. Whether public notice is required, which it's not, of course, that would be, things like rezonings or conditional use permits, who makes a recommendation and who makes the final decision, when it expires, if they never do anything with it, like if a sign permit is pulled and they never build the sign, then eventually, that's going to expire. So that's spelled out, and then any cross references for standards related to that permit. So that was it for a very high overview. The Planning Commission had their public hearing on the 28th of September, and there were just some questions that were fairly miscellaneous from the commission, but no concerns really to speak of. No one in the audience had anything to say at the public hearing either. They voted unanimously to recommend approval as it was presented at their meeting. One note, or a couple notes. The zoning map still remains to be worked on. We will be working with staff, and we have been and will continue to get the zoning map ready for review and adoption. And the text, the thing I've been talking about this whole time, doesn't become effective until the zoning map becomes effective, because you got to have them kind of working together. This, even though you're kind of, you're having, I guess, the public hearing. I'm not sure how each city does things differently. So you handle what you need to do for the hearing part of this. But basically, the zoning map needs to be adopted before the text of this comes into play and is effective. So that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
I don't have any questions. I just have a statement. I really enjoyed working with you and your team members. And I think we even got an extra meeting out of you because we, I guess it was the last one that we had. There was just so much, and we just didn't want to rush through it. So I asked if we could have another meeting. You all were very generous in letting us do that. And this is just so important, I feel like, for just the guidance of our city and just, to make sure we have the right trees and the right fencing and everything.
The right sign.
The steering committee was very deliberate, had a lot of questions, which is good. Did a very detailed review. Were balanced, some people were all for certain things, some people pushed back. So it was a very good group.
Yeah. And just so people in the audience, people watching know, there were city councilors, planning commissioners, there were members from the community that were on this committee, and
builders,
developers. And, one thing, I mean, I've read this whole thing more than once.
I'm sorry.
And I know, I'm such a nerd. It's ridiculous. But I just appreciate so much the time and effort that has gone into it by not only our staff, but just other people that have weighed in. And because I think it's one of the most important documents that we have in our city, this and our comprehensive plan. And, I would encourage developers, real estate agents. I mean, if you are somebody that you make your living doing business in our city, you owe it to yourself and your potential clients to understand our comprehensive plan and our zoning ordinances so that you can, be a good steward to your clients. And because there's really nothing in our city that you can't click a button, click on our website and find it and educate yourself about. And I feel like we've done a really good job of keeping local control, but the government not getting too crazy and letting developers have a little bit of like, if you want to do this and you're willing to give up this, you can just go for it and you can get going and your process can be faster. So I think it was a really happy medium that's going to make our city better. So I'm really proud of it. So good job, y'all.
Yeah. And I just want to say to the staff, the staff did a lot of behind the scenes and getting things ready for our meetings. It made our job easier.
Yeah.
Mayor,
yes.
How long do you think it'll take to finish the map and bring all that back?
Yeah, Amanda and I have talked about this a little bit. It's second half of December is often sort of difficult to get things done, but getting into January, I think end of January might be reasonable as a rough guess.
Any other questions? Nope. Thank you so much.
Well, I make a motion to, I guess we're making a motion to preview the ordinance and set it for adoption.
Nice.
Second.
Good motion and a second. Roll call. Yep. Okay. Next up, we have ordinances. 11A, consideration. No. Just kidding. 10B. Sorry. Consideration, discussion, and possible preview of an ordinance for the voluntary annexation of approximately 45.85 acres located at the southeast corner of Midway Road and 81st Street. Amanda, yeah.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, Mr. Spurgeon, this is the preview ordinance that goes along with public hearing 7E that you've already discussed for the annexation. We recommend that you preview the ordinance and set for adoption.
I'll make a motion still that we do that. I'm excited about it. I will say that there were several people that left because they didn't realize, I guess like I did, that I thought it was going to be the next item on the agenda that we were going to approve this. So I do make a motion that we approve preview of this ordinance for this adoption.
I'll second Johnny's motion when he makes it.
Perfect. Motion and a second. Roll call. Okay, now item 11A, consideration, discussion, and possible adoption of ordinance number 3810, an amendment to Broken Arrow Code ordinances, section 16-10.1, purchase of tobacco and vapor products by persons under 21 years of age. Trevor.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, Mr. Spurgeon. Approximately 2 years ago, the Oklahoma legislature had moved the prosecution of minor possession of tobacco products to the ABLE Commission. They since realized that didn't work as well as they'd hoped, and so now they've sent it back to us. So this ordinance just confirms and follows the state law changes. Happy to answer any questions that you may have. We'll be able to prosecute these back in municipal court as soon as this would be adopted.
Okay. Any questions? You have a motion?
I'll make a motion we approve ordinance number 3810.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call. Item B is the emergency clause. Would someone like to make a motion to move for emergency clause?
I'll make a motion to move for the emergency clause.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. All right. Remarks and inquiries by governing body members. Well, I'm sure you have an announcement. I was going to say we have a new state resident. I think we have it up there somewhere. Hold, please.
What is it, Mayor?
It's a picture. Oh, not that one. Sorry. Well, that is another one. So Lisa made our National League of Cities newsletter, and it is National or Native American Heritage Month. So I'm going to share that, your beautiful picture.
Thank you very much.
But I should have sent a picture of the baby.
Yes, I do have a new grandbaby, by the way. Yes. Ren Q.
Very
She's
precious.
perfect in every way. I am very proud to sit on, we call it the Leadership Circle for the National League of Cities. And it's been quite an honor to, they haven't had a contingency group like that in like 20 years, so it was really neat to, at the last conference, to be announced and to get up on the stage. And it was very touching when expecting quite the reception we got, standing ovation and everything. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So thank you for doing that.
And then, if I'm not mistaken, you've learned there's a lot of differences between the tribes in the different states and reservations, and what reservations mean in each state and the difference.
Yes. So even though we may have challenges like with McGirt, there's a lot of other tribes have. I didn't feel like I really should have even been on that council. I'm like, we kind of get along with all of our tribes. It's a good thing, or our government and things. So they definitely have different situations than we have. I feel like we've got it pretty good here. And there's two Choctaws. I'm a Choctaw, and there's two Choctaws on there, and then there's other tribes. So
very cool. I was just going to remind everyone that Friday is going to be the Tulsa Veterans Day Parade. They always do it on the Friday before, if it lands on a Saturday, so that the students can march in the band or the parade as well. And it's also the Marines' birthday. So if you're a Marine, Semper Fi.
And 50s Diner's doing
50s
breakfast.
Diner. Yep, they'll do. I'm sure. I know I'll be there. Yeah, I'll be at breakfast at 50s Diner on Friday morning. So.
Speaking of breakfast, on Saturday, November 11th, there is a pancake breakfast to benefit Broken Arrow Police and Cops with Kids. So if you like pancakes, come on out, get some pancakes.
And they're good.
Yeah, they are
help
good.
support
pancakes.
the wonderful cause there.
And then was anyone going to mention the 16th? Was that city council or city manager? Were you going to mention that?
I was.
Okay, I'll let you. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
You're up.
Okay, good evening. Just a couple of things. November 16th is the tree lighting ceremony and the kickoff of our Christmas holiday, Christmas in Broken Arrow. And we're going to be doing it a little bit differently this year. Instead of having the proverbial live event, we're going to have what I would call a jumbotron. And actually, there's going to be messages from the city council members and myself periodically leading up to it with the kickoff and the lighting at 6:30. So there's going to be more information about that. I anticipate we'll have another record crowd. Hopefully the weather's cool, because actually that brings a lot of folks out. I just encourage, and I'm just going to mention this again on the 14th, is that our merchants, they're pretty jazzed about this. And I'd like to just recommend that everyone come out and support the merchants that are down there. There's just a lot. There's going to be some great events that the council is aware of, and we'll be advertising to promote basically the season in our community and supporting the spirit of Christmas in our community. So I'm very excited about it.
Well, we have a bigger tree this year too, so everyone needs to come out and see our bigger Christmas tree, bigger and better Christmas tree. Yes.
A few more things. So just 2 consulting services contract are going to come before the council very soon. One of them is a contract for consulting services to look at options for expanding or looking at a new city hall. We talked about just during the budget process. And so Ethan Edwards and his team have done their due diligence and have given me a recommendation on who I should like to recommend to you all. So actually that's going to be coming forth. I still need to meet with that consultant. And also we're going to be looking at bringing forth the consultant for the council consideration with help us with putting together the estimates for many of the projects for the 2026 bond package. Kenny and his team, Ethan, they're amazing at looking at asphalt and concrete estimates, but when it comes to buildings, playgrounds, and all of the other amenities that will eventually end up in the bond, as I've said during the budget process, I think we need to have some professional services to help with those, especially when our user groups, I believe all of them are going to be submitting recommendations to the council on how they'd like to see improvements to the buildings, our buildings, which they actually use through the user group agreements. So those 2 consulting services, and I'll have detailed presentations to all of you. I'm very comfortable with both of the consultants, that we've got good numbers, and they listen. They're very good at listening, and we're the client, and they're going to make sure that what they hear from us is what they're going to implement. So with regard to the 2026 bond package, it was suggested to me that we get together with Russell Peterson, and we did that. Kenny Schwab and I did recently, had a real good meeting about the 2026 bond package. And I just had the opportunity to share with him what we're looking at, and also how I'd like to go forward with the Build a Better Broken Arrows committee's involvement. And that was a very positive meeting. And then the last thing is next Tuesday is a very important day in Broken Arrow. That is the vote for the Broken Arrow Public Schools. It's no new taxes, $52 million. As you know, the superintendent was here at the last meeting. I had lunch with him today, and they're basically hitting everybody that they can and just trying to get the word out and to answer questions. And so, they're looking forward to the voters coming out, and hopefully they'll support the proposition. It does take 60%, as he mentioned, but just want to let everyone know to get out and vote on November 14th.
Absolutely.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. And just on that bond, it's just a reminder that the bond funds are what pay for these improvements, the air conditioning units, the additional security on the sites, et cetera. When you don't have the bond funds, then it comes out of general, which comes out of your teacher pay, makes larger classroom sizes. So it matters, and that's kind of their mechanism to pay for these things. So
I'll just ask the council to make sure you use your vehicles to basically remind people to get out and vote between now and next Tuesday. I mean, there just isn't anything more important besides our bonds. Obviously, that's extremely important, is that we go together. And so everybody I speak to, I'm just making sure they get out and we support them. They're working very, very hard. And when it's no new taxes, I think that's important to reiterate.
Absolutely.
Well, if our schools are healthy, our community's
That's
healthy.
exactly right.
So we need to support them for sure.
All right. Well, we have an executive session. So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to take a recess to go into band.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Green,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes?
Parks,
Yes.
Gillespie,
Yes.
Wimpy.
Yes. All right. Call the Broken Arrow Municipal Authority meeting to order. Roll call.
Green,
Yes. Here.
Ford,
Here?
Parks,
Here.
Gillespie,
Here?
Wimpy.
Here. Are there any items on the consent agenda to be removed?
Move to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. Item 5A, presentation and discussion of results of the 2023 Oklahoma Department Environmental Quality Sanitary Survey checkbooks.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, Trustees, Mr. Spurgeon, Charles Vokes, Utilities Director. The sanitary survey involves the inspection and review of a public water system to assess its capability to supply safe drinking water. The surveys are a proactive health measure, an important component of the safe drinking water requirements. The Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality is responsible for completing sanitary surveys for public supplies in the state on a periodic basis. This is a big deal. They look at 8 areas. They look at our source water, they look at the treatment, they look at our distribution system, finished water storage, pumps monitoring, the management, the operation of the utility, and operator compliance. Our survey was held on August 15th, 2023, and they review hundreds and hundreds of items, and they were only able to identify 4 minor deficiencies. They were very pleased with our system. We have a very good system. So we have submitted a corrective action plan for those 4 deficiencies, and it's been sent to the ODEQ, and it's documented in the letter that's in your packet. And I will be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I just appreciate the work that you do. I think Counselor Green just did his onboarding, and it's a lot. There's a lot of things going on in your department for sure.
He heard some things.
Yeah,
Of course.
yeah. He absorbed. Have someone else. All 5 of us are cheering for that filter for sure.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate everyone works so hard, and I know it's a lot to have to me to have just 4 minor things is not a bad deal for sure.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
All right. Item 5B, approval of and authorization for the chairman to execute a proclamation declaring November 15th, 2023 as America Recycles Day and the month of November 2023 as America Recycle Month in the city of Broken Arrow, and encourage our citizens to participate in activities such as recycling, reducing, reusing, replanting, and restoring our communities and the planet.
Good
Jerry?
evening, Chair, Vice Chair, City Manager. You said everything I needed to say. So it's this time of year where it's America Recycles Day is the 15th. America Recycles Month is this month. And so we get behind our recycling operations, and we just want to make sure that we recognize that we're going to participate. So,
I like it.
all right.
Do you want to take these? Do you want
I
me to
will.
read them? Do I need to read them? I can. I can. Okay, every year, yes.
And I have the next item, so I'll just hang
Okay,
out. So.
the next item is a presentation of City of Broken Arrow Trash Bash and Recycle Rally.
Good evening again. So one of the things that we wanted to do this evening is we just wanted to take a moment, first and foremost, to thank the many volunteers that are, and some of them are actually here. I mean, obviously, our own Lisa Ford is part of our board, and she helps us get everything off the table and done. But we have our KBAB affiliates are here, and we're missing a few people because of the time tonight. But we have New Solutions. Sharon is obviously in the room, and we just want to take a moment to say thank you to Harmon Insurance, Green Country Trash, and just the countless volunteers that come along and just help us get this program off the deck every day or every 6 months. We were lucky enough to win a award from the DEQ a couple of months ago, just recognizing how valuable our programming is. And just for a little bit of clarity, we had only 18 volunteers this last event for our actual event itself. And a lot of students, but 18 like solids. They're always there. We had 273 vehicles, 532 pounds of car batteries, 750 pounds of regular household batteries, 3,000 pounds of e-waste and 3,000 pounds of cardboard, 1,361 pounds of meds. I mean, these are all things that you would just not have a place to put if we didn't do these events. And so we just want to tell you thank you for continuing to support us in those events, and also for all of our volunteers who come out and give us the time to go walk a mile and clean up litter. We had 33 bags of trash and 3 bags of recycling that would have otherwise been in our waterways. So we're so appreciative of them, and we just want to take the time to say thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Item 6A is consideration, discussion, and possible approval of a replacement appointment to the Metropolitan Environmental Trust Board with a term expiring July 1, 2025. Jerry, hi.
Hi, yeah, it's been so long. It's good to see you all again. So we recently lost our board appointee to the Met. Scott Udi was our board appointee, and he has now moved on. And so our next meeting is the 9th, and they've asked me in due diligence to say, okay, who's next? Because we need to have a board appointment to it. Now, I went through the bylaws. We have had a council person in probably the last 4 cycles. It doesn't require one, but we have had one. So really, I leave it to you folks to have a discussion and make a decision. Let me know who we need to alert the Met to as far as who our board member will be. Okay?
Okay. So if we continue on, I mean, Lisa has been with Trash Bash for forever, which makes a lot of sense unless someone else wants to be a part of that.
Yeah, I'd be glad to serve on the Met board. I'm not sure if I can make this Thursday's meeting, but if you can send me some information.
So that's an issue.
That is an issue. They have a great deal of business to cover this Thursday, and they will not have a quorum.
What time's the meeting?
It is I believe it's 12:30 or 1.
I may be able, we got to be in Oklahoma City that evening, so I may be able to do it. Send me the information.
I
can let you know.
Yeah, I did ask Bobby if we could like select an alternate that could maybe go in lieu of, but I didn't know if that was something they could do. Like, in COG, we have an alternate that.
I'm not sure of that as well. That didn't speak to it in the bylaws, but typically they've had people, and I've even seen code enforcement officers as the person that they put on the board for a city. They just need someone in there to make a quorum.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the biggest problem is a lot of folks don't show and they don't get the quorum, and so they can't move business forward.
Are the meetings typically an hour or they?
No, they're typically a little less.
Okay.
I mean, they go over all
probably
the
can swing it.
statistics.
I don't think I have to be in Oklahoma City till like 4:30, so we can just leave from there. I
Okay,
think I could do it. But if you can send me the information where.
absolutely.
and all
I'll
that.
send you the agenda and all the information today. Thank you.
Gonna talk trash. And she's gonna.
Do we need to make a motion for that? I make a motion that we appoint Counselor Ford to the Met.
Second.
Oh,
Yep.
sorry.
Motion is second. Roll call.
Sorry.
All right. Any remarks by governing body members?
I just want to remind people that actually Recycle BA has a Facebook page. So if you haven't liked it, go to it, like it, and there's really good information on there. And we'll let you know when the next recycling event's coming up, but it's good information all year round. So if you haven't liked their Facebook page, it's Recycle BA.
Affiliated as well. Very good job there. City Manager?
I do just have one thing. This is really for those in attendance that weren't here for the special meeting, as well as those that are watching the council meeting tonight. Is the council called for a special session to receive a presentation regarding our long-term water interests. And I first want to thank you for making time for probably one of the most important things, public infrastructure wise, that is so important. I mean, all of our public infrastructure is important, but quality water is extremely important. And I want to thank Kenny Schwab, also Ethan Edwards, and I see Brandy and Emily are still here. And I want to just thank them for the time and effort to help HDR with the presentation. Thank you for the direction, which was to basically look at one of the two alternatives, alternative one, A or B, but to start with doing the negotiation of memorandum of understanding with UWA with regard to how we would actually reestablish the line to provide water to our community. And so there's going to be a lot of negotiations, discussions going forward. It was great to see David here this evening from UWA. Haven't seen him in a while. We had a lot of discussions when I first started about knowing that we would get to this point. And so obviously it's a large financial commitment, and we're going to be looking at this as not something that we're going to have to incur now. It's just a matter of actually the planning process begins of how to move forward with this. And I feel really good about the direction that council's given. And with Kenny and Ethan and their team, I feel really, really good about how we're going to go forward. And as soon as I know more about where we are at the memorandum, we'll come back and give you an update.
Yes, sir. We have no executive session.
I do have one more thing. I thought we had a council meeting before, but on the 17th, actually, our Keep Broken Arrow Beautiful and the Trash Bash Committee and I don't know who else is up for statewide awards, like a few. So it's the 17th. We're going to be in Atlanta for National League of Cities, or I would be there because I hate missing those. So good luck, you all. Bring back some winning stuff. I really think you will. But anyway, good luck. And I'm sorry I can't be there because I would be there if I was in town.
Absolutely. All right. A motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
The motion and a second. Roll call. Oh, no, sorry.
Did you vote no?
I did. I voted no to not adjourn, but I do want to adjourn.
I don't want to go back.
We would have adjourned anyway because it would have been you.
I would have lost.
I would have lost. So, okay. Call the Broken Arrow Economic Development Authority to order. Roll call.
Green,
Here.
Ford,
Here.
Parks,
Here.
Gillespie,
Here.
Wimpy.
Here. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call. There are no public hearings, appeals, presentation, recognitions, or awards. Item 6A, post-event report on November 1st through 3rd, 2023, best practice trips to Chattanooga. Mr. Spurgeon.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of council. I'm just going to be brief. We've always talked about whenever council members leave town and there's some type of public function is that we just try to give a brief update. And in our ongoing efforts to develop a plan for our innovation district, members of the city and the chamber and the EDC traveled to Chattanooga, Tennessee on November 1st, basically about 2.5 days, and met with a number of officials from that community to look at the innovation district that they have there and the improvements, the development and redevelopment they've done in their downtown area. And there's always great takeaways from every event that you go to, and the purpose is for us to look at what other cities have done, and this is just in our ongoing efforts. Later this week, members of my staff that went will have a debrief meeting where we'll actually discuss our takeaways from the meeting. And then later this week, Thursday, I have a meeting with EDC officials to do the exact same thing. So I've spoken to all of you about your takeaways. And what I was just going to let you know is after I gather all the information and come up with some ideas, then I will update the authority, city council on where we're at and make sure that you're in support of the direction that we're going to be going. Just really wanted to mention and see if anybody had any questions. I know the vice mayor would have been there, but she had a leadership class that she was attending along with Lori Hill. And so I was keeping her up to date on the things we were doing while we were away. But I appreciate all of you taking your time. And I do appreciate Jennifer Conway and the EDC and the chamber and their staffs putting everything together. It's no easy feat to try to get 38 people, I believe, or 37 people all coordinated together in a community that's halfway across the country. So it took a lot of effort.
It was a good trip.
I have a couple more things too. That's in our comments. I'm sorry.
Well, and you brought up the community leadership, so we're on comments, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so Lori Hill and I, and Lori is our community relations, what's her?
Manager.
Yeah, manager. So we were chosen by OML to be a part of a community leadership development class, and I know our mayor has done it as well as Councilor Ford. And so we go to a different city each quarter, and there's myself and one other person, Shelley Selby, that's the mayor of Yukon. We were the only elected officials, and everybody else are actually, did I say?
Municipal employees.
Okay, yeah, all municipal employees. And so it was really fun to get to be a part of that. And we'll be doing something once a quarter, and Broken Arrow is actually hosting one of them. But I learned so much. You get to see things from other cities. We were in Enid, and it was just a great relationship building, but then also sharing ideas. And of course, we always come away knowing how great Broken Arrow is. But and I got to spend some extra time with Lori, which was fun. And I made her take some pictures because she will not get in pictures. So I actually have pictures with Lori's face in it.
Yep.
So that was good too.
Yep. All right. We do have an executive session.
Did you?
I have a few things, Mayor.
Oh, could have sworn we already let you talk. Oh, that was the, sorry, that was the item.
Okay.
Just kidding. Remarks by the city manager.
Okay. Couple things about the amphitheater. I wanted to provide you with an update. You heard from Charlie Bright with regard to public infrastructure. Just want to reiterate is that we are working with Wagner County on a possible partnership with regard to the project and had some great conversations. The TIF meetings led by the vice mayor, we're finalizing the boundaries and the legalities that go along with that. And we will be meeting very soon, getting that process started. I had lunch with Dr. Hanley yesterday, and NSU is considering the parking agreement for the spaces for that partnership later this week. And he saw no concerns with it. And so I just want to express my appreciation to him and also to Jennifer Rush for actually negotiating that agreement. And there are investor meetings that are going on by Nos Live. They're being held basically. I attended one along with the mayor, Jennifer Conway and Jennifer Rush a couple of weeks ago, and there were probably about 20 different investors that looking at investing in the amphitheater. There is going to be one hosted by the EDC on the 14th of November to allow the folks that are in our organization that contribute to support the EDC to come in to look at this project. And I'll be saying just a few words about the city's investment. So that's ongoing, and I understand those are going very, very well. So that's really all I had to report about the amphitheater, but things continue to move forward, and hopefully I'll have a date for you very soon in early January. As you know, letters went out to approximately 250 to 300 homeowners or homes, letting them know of a public or informational meeting, as I'm going to call it, that'll be happening. And I think we're close to narrowing a date in early January. And so as soon as I know for sure, then Aaron McCulloch will be sending something out to let council know to mark your calendar for that informational meeting. But it's going to be probably within the first 15 days of January. So, and then the final thing is I'm very excited is tomorrow, I believe at 10 a.m., Norm Stevens, assistant manager, and Joe Williford for our building inspection manager are meeting with Crossland Construction on site to talk about, there actually has been a lot of preliminary work going on for the research. Crossland's been awarded the contract for the research. So we're going out tomorrow to sit down with, obviously they start doing construction, building inspections and so forth. Joe's team does a great job and really just build that relationship because they've already prefabricated the walls. Their steel package has been awarded. And actually this month and next month, you're going to see an incredible amount of construction in addition to what's already going on out there. So I just want to make you aware of that.
Exciting.
That's all I have.
All right. And you mentioned the investor meeting. I hadn't, I thought I understood what was happening inside the amphitheater, but those suites, it's a real estate investment. Like you literally purchased that piece at the amphitheater, which is kind of a neat thing. So I hadn't really thought that through, what it consisted of. So it's pretty cool.
It was.
All right. So now we have no executive session. Oh, we do have an executive session. So, I guess we could
Do
just
we
stay
want to do
here.
this one
and
first?
take-
It's your pleasure. You could go back into the council if you want to do that now, or you could stay in beta and complete the executive session. So whichever you'd like to do.
We'll stay in beta and then we'll just, I'll entertain a motion to clear the room for a brief recess.
I'll make a motion to clear the room for a brief recess for the famine meeting.
Second.
There we go.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Green,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Parks,
Yes.
Gillespie,
Yes.
Wimpy.
Yes.
Oh, I guess that's just his remarks. I guess it doesn't matter.